Hi, my name is Sara. I work at VMA Group as the ED&I lead. I'm here with Antoinette Willcocks from FleishmanHillard, and we're going to be talking about the importance of ED&I in the workplace. I'll just hand over to Antoinette now to tell us a little bit about her role.
Thank you so much, Sara, and I'm really happy to be here. So I am the Director and Head of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion for the UK at FleishmanHillard. We're a global PR agency. I'm also on the management board for the UK agency and a counsellor in our Mosaic practice, which is our team dedicated to providing de&i counsel to clients. I worked for a really long time in PR and communications. In fact, it was Lucy who placed me in one of my first PR roles. I moved into the de&i space a couple of years ago now, and it was really in response to the need for de&i professionals that also had strategic communications experience. And I found that working in this role, having a good handle on issues related to reputation and how to engage and how to communicate with your people has been massively beneficial. I also find that there are lots of really transferable skills. I spent a long time when I worked in PR coaching senior stakeholders through quite difficult or quite challenging or quite sensitive situations. And that is really mirrored in a de&i lead role in many ways. I suppose now the difference is I spend less time trying to help people articulate the challenges and more time trying to find fixes for them and trying to connect teams and connect people and connect concepts and ideas in order to fix some of the challenges that we're facing. In the agency, our real focus is around becoming the most inclusive PR agency in the country and for the work that we produce to represent and inspire the society that we operate in. So all of the various facets of my role really ladder up into how we make that vision come to life.
So do you think the recruitment process is equal and fair?
It's an interesting question, and I think that over the past few years, thinking about how people have been addressing issues related to de&i, recruitment has been a real core focus. And there are lots of things that organisations can and are doing to help make the recruitment process more fair, whether it's things like blinding CVs or contextual recruitment or making sure you have diversity on your recruitment panels. At the agency, we did a lot of work with EY to achieve the National Equality Standard accreditation, and we became the first PR agency to receive the accreditation. And a big part of that was looking at recruitment and how we can make the processes more fair. We learnt some really amazing things around how you can go about doing that and things that are having a real impact, things that I think lots of organisations could possibly learn from. You can do some really interesting work around the structure of your interviews, for example, and the structure of your recruitment processes, having things like set questions that you ask in a set order to ensure that you're not, looking for the right answer and leading somebody down the path to get the answer that you may expect from them. But I think the recruitment piece is an important but relatively small piece of a broader de&i puzzle. I think lots of organisations need to do some work on how they position themselves as an attractive employer in the first place. Why would somebody from an underrepresented or minority group want to work for you? Are you the destination for them? And that's a really important piece of work that takes some real consideration. And on the flip side of that, once you have managed to attract and then recruit this incredible talent, how do you retain them and how do you progress them? And those are two really important pieces of the puzzle, and it's why it's so important that everybody within your organisation, in all organisations, from your recruitment teams all the way through, really understand your de&i strategy and why it's important and, crucially, what role they play in bringing that to life.
So in your current role, can you share any examples of where the role of ED&I is having a positive impact?
Yeah, so I think in particular, over the past year or so, there's been a real shift, I think, in the type of conversation and in the mood and in the tone when it comes to de&i. I think for a long time there was this feeling that responsibility for de&I sat with the head of de&I or sat with maybe the head of HR or talent or maybe with the CEO. Increasingly, we're having more conversations about everybody in the organisation having a role to play when it comes to creating inclusive businesses and creating inclusive cultures. For a long time there was this notion that the only people that could be involved in conversations around DE&I were people who were from minority communities, but actually that's not the case, and actually everybody's got a level of responsibility and everybody can and should be a part of the conversation, and that could be a real game changer, because even though there will be things across all organisations that are systemic and that relate to how the business operates that will need to be changed or will need to be evolved in order to create better workplaces, on the ground, in reality, everybody can do something. And I think moving towards that understanding has been a real game changer in terms of how we will understand our roles when it comes to DE&I.
So what should communications leaders be doing to actively support the role of ED&I within their organisation and across industries?
I think it's a really good question, because I think if you're a comms leader, you occupy a really unique position within your organisation. You have a really unique view and a really important position as an influencer when it comes to what happens within the organisation. I would say the first thing that a comms leader should be doing is looking to build out their own diverse team. I think DE&I is a facet of so many business issues at the moment. You can't avoid it, nor should you want to. And it will be difficult to advise your organisation on issues related to DE&I and issues that that resonate with audiences, both internal and external, if your team isn't reflective of the diverse nature of our society. I think the second thing relates to a conversation that Lucy and I had. It must have been over a year ago now, when we thought there might be a spike or an increase in DE&I related comms roles coming onto the market. That didn't materialise. We haven't seen that influx or that real drive for DE&I comms roles come about. And I guess the question we kind of had after that was, well, why is that? Why is there not this need for these roles? If I had to hazard a guess, I would say it was because organisations and communications teams are relying on their employee resource groups to plug that gap. But that could be problematic for a lot of reasons. People who join your employee resource groups often didn't join them. They didn't sign up because they wanted to be advisors. And it puts, in many ways, unfair pressure on them, especially if they're being asked to replay and share their lived experiences with you over and over again. In addition, the kind of nuanced and potentially sensitive nature of DE&I issues means that it's quite likely that anything that you might want to consult with your employee resource groups on might intersect with quite a sensitive or confidential business issue, so it wouldn't always be appropriate to have that conversation with them, which again plays to my first point around trying to create diverse teams, diverse comms teams, or failing that, understanding where it might be beneficial to partner with other organisations. I work as part of our Mosaic practice in London, and we are a team of dedicated counsellors that advise on just these issues, DE&I related comms issues for clients. And the final point in terms of what comms leaders can do goes back to what one of my really early line managers told me when I first started working in PR over 12 years ago now. He said that the comms team and the PR team is really the critical eye and the conscience of any organisation. They're the ones that can see how your message and how your narrative is landing in the wider world. And the same goes for your DE&I story. So if you're a comms leader and you can see that the external story isn't tallying up with the internal reality, that's a really important thing for you to understand and a really important thing for you to be able to share and counsel your organisation through.
In your opinion, what do employers need to do to support retention of a diverse workforce?
I mean, that's a $64 million question. It's such an important issue, but it's something that most organisations are really still grappling with. I mentioned before the real importance of a focus on equity and understanding how to put equity at the heart of all of your business functions and your business processes as the most important way to drive inclusion for everybody. And I think understanding diversity is something that's really central to every element of your business, whether or not it is the way you recruit, you promote, you hire, whether it's how you communicate, whether it's how you engage with your employees. Understanding how equity sits as part of all of those things, I think will be key to helping to retain diverse talent within your organisations.
Thank you so much for your time today, Antoinette. It's been really great chatting with you and talking about these really important issues. I really appreciate your time and thank you so much.